Hey, happy day 20 of the BP challenge. Blood pressure for me, health or lifestyle or whatever you want challenge that you can do a 90-day push for you, because the process is the same no matter what kind of a challenge you're doing. I know people don't usually tell you that, but it's absolutely true. Whether you want to make more money, whether you want to have more time, whatever it is that you want in your life, by doing a 90-day push, a 90-day challenge, and repeating this process with me and going through this process, you can create anything you want in as little as 90 days, in days, not years. Some of the things that we've created, and I personally created for myself in 90 days, are things that have taken people even decades to create in their lives. So today, new phase of what we're doing, and we're going to work on what is next. What are we going to test? What are we going to test throughout this challenge on ourselves? Because really, we're always our own science experiment. For me, we've been researching. We spent about a week or so researching and digging into our topic and digging into the goal and the thing we want, finding people to model, finding influencers, finding sources, and we've got all this information swimming around in our heads right now. So today, our assignment, our challenge is to make a list of 5 to 10 of the top things that we've learned so far that we want to investigate further and test on ourselves. I would say 5 things for sure we're going to do. We're going to break down 5 different things over the next weeks, but you might want to go with a few more, because what I found is as I was making my list, I can combine certain things. And I'm actually going to go through, I just brainstormed my list this morning, because I want to tell you, it doesn't take that long. It took me like maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes to brainstorm the list and break down what am I going to cover over the next few weeks for my personal implementation of this challenge, the BP challenge. And so I want you to do the same thing. Pick 5 categories to 10 categories of things that you want to explore and experiment with on yourself to find out how and if and how they work for you, and how you need to tweak them to make them part of what you're going to do moving forward to create a continuous cycle of moving upward toward the result that you want, to get the goal thing that you want. So that's our assignment. That's our challenge today, is just brainstorm a list of the 5 to 10 categories of the 5 to 10 things that you're going to do. So let me give you my list and give you my examples so you know what I'm talking about. As I've been doing my research and studying things up, it hasn't really felt like a lot of effort, because I've been doing a little bit every day. And if you do a little bit over 19 days, you accomplish way more than you can even have imagined that you would have accomplished. And you know a lot more than you might have thought just in these 19 days so far. Now today, coming up with that list, it was pretty easy for me, because I want to balance all the different aspects of my life, financial, mental, spiritual, contribution, family, relationships, emotional, thoughts and mindset things, all of these things. I want to balance all those and keep those in the back of my mind. They won't ever be balanced, but I want to make sure I don't totally ignore any of those areas of my life. If you ignore your relationships, you end up divorced. If you ignore your kids, you end up with kids that aren't necessarily the human beings you want to be. If you ignore your health, you can end up dead. How do I know? Actually did that. Can't ignore all of these. You can minimize some aspects of your life and pay more attention to others during certain times of your life, but if you totally ignore an area and an aspect of your being and your life and your anything, your physical well-being, your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being, your emotional well-being, your finances, your relationships, what it is you're here to do and create in the world, if you ignore any one of these areas for a long enough time, it will do something to get your attention. So what are my 5 things, the 5 categories I'm going to work on? Because what I want to do is lower my blood pressure, probably 20 points. That's my goal, 20 points. So I want to find ways to lower my blood pressure 20 points. You might want to lose 40 pounds or 50 pounds. You might want to get 5 new leads a month. You might want, or 5 new customers a month, or 10 new customers, or $10,000 more a month. Whatever it is for you, you can use these same strategies to create whatever you want. So what are the 5 categories we're going to dive deeply into over the next days and months? I guess it is probably 2 months left. So 2.5 months. So for me, as much as I'm dreading it, I am going to tackle mindsets, thoughts, and beliefs first. I'm going to deal with my mind first, because I personally know that if I don't get my head trash out of my head personally, that none of the other things I want to do are going to matter, because I will keep undermining myself in each of those efforts. So the first category I'm going to deal with are what I call mindset issues, beliefs, limiting beliefs, challenges, to my thoughts, my upbringing, people I need to forgive, whatever it is that falls into that category, that's going to be the first category for me is mindset. And that knocks off the whole mental and probably a lot of the emotional aspects of my life that I want to deal with. So I'm going to deal with that first and make sure I've got that in line. The second thing I wrote down is movement, action, moving my body, physical exercise, physical action, and moving or taking action. Now, does mindset apply to pretty much anything any of us want? Hint, hint. Yes, it does. Does movement or action or taking action apply to pretty much anything that we want? Yes, it does. So even though this seems like it's specific to me for blood pressure or specific to a health challenge, it's actually applicable to any kind of lifestyle, business, any kind of challenge that we have. My third one is nutrition. Again, nutrition is energy. We all need energy to create whatever it is that we want. So nutrition may or may not be applicable to the goal that you're setting, but something with respect to energy might be, right? My fourth one is supplements, because I read a ton of information about and a ton of differing information. So I want to dig into that more closely and experiment with some of that on myself with respect to lowering blood pressure. There's lots of conflicting information around that. And then the last one that I put is like I call it basics, but I'm sure it'll be a kind of a hodgepodge of all the different little tips and tricks and strategies and other type common sense things that I heard that you need to do, involving water, air, breathing, sleep, and I'm sure I'll come up with some more as I get closer to that particular segment, but those are the top 5 things that I brainstormed already. Now, other things that are important, but I know we're going to cover in the challenge, are things like research. Well, we've already learned how to do research, and we're doing it as part of an ongoing process. The other things are relationships, systems, automating things, systems, processes and procedures. I know that we'll go through that for each area, and then continuous improvement. We'll do big sections on that. But for right now, I just want you to brainstorm what are the 5 to 10 categories of things that you're going to dig more deeply into to achieve your goal. And I like to ask myself the question, what is the next most important thing I need to do to move me toward my goal? Whenever I'm looking at alternatives or making a choice, I say, what is the next most important thing I need to do? What is the next thing I need to learn, or I need to hook up with somebody who already knows how to do that? I think about that a lot in my online business and in learning new skills, and actually in my offline businesses. What is the next thing we need to do, and who's best at it? Do I need to learn how to do this? Is this something I am personally the one that has to be responsible for and do? Usually when it came to finances and managing and controlling finances, that was my responsibility and is still my responsibility. When it comes to my personal finances and my business finances, do I have accountants and CFOs? Yes, but is it ultimately my responsibility? And I'm going to keep my thumb or my finger on the pulse of that? Absolutely. Also with my marketing, by marketing I mean the message, my branding, who I show up as in the world. That's up to me. I can't really delegate that to anyone else. My communication, my personal relationship communication, I'm not going to delegate that to someone else either. That's if I'm developing a relationship with someone, I'm developing a relationship with them. I'm not going to delegate that. It's really funny. It's like one of my mentors says, it's like outsourcing your sex life. You can't outsource your sex life or your love life, so you're not going to outsource certain things in your business that you need to keep control over. And you don't have to have control over 100% of it or do it all yourself, but you need to absolutely know and understand and set the direction of how those things are going to go for you. So those are my areas. Mine are, again, mindset, movement, nutrition, supplements, and then basics. And I'm sure I'll change the names of those by the time we get to them, but for right now, those are my categories. So today, your assignment, although I've been really long-winded about it, 5, I'd say 5, just come up with 5, but if you want to do more, go do as many as you want, but I'd say 5 to 10 things that you're going to test on yourself as you're moving toward your goal. 5 to 10 things that you're going to learn more about, and then you're going to implement, and you're going to do in your movement toward the goal, the thing that you want to achieve. Mine is, I'm getting my blood pressure down 20 points in 90 days. And the first thing I'm going to do to work toward looking at that and testing myself as my own science experiment is mindset. Mindset, thinking, beliefs. What do I think about? And we'll talk about that in detail, of course, as we go forward starting tomorrow. The how we're going to do this, how are we going to test ourselves will be starting tomorrow, because we first need to know what we're going to test, what we want, what we're going to do, And then we need to talk about, well, how are we going to do that? How are we going to roll that out? How are we going to test? How are we going to implement that in our life? And in little bitty bite-sized pieces, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Have an amazing day. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow.